Let's talk about bows. That seems to be a popular subject for those who watch bow making channels. And what you have before ye are two bows. One is a previously made one, one is the one I'm working on right now. Well, actually, in all honesty, I'm not. I'm sitting here on my chair talking to you, but soon I will be working on it. This is an example. This is actually, I think, 56 inches long, sinew backed, painted with natural pigments. Oh yeah, it's recurved, oh slightly, and it has rawhide padding the tips, as you can see. And that's just very thin rawhide. I had flat sheet and cut it into little squares and then sanded it till it was almost paper thin. It doesn't need to be thick. It just needs to smooth things out so you're not wearing unnecessarily your sinew bowstring. I had a sinew bowstring on this puppy. And what I do is I soak, because this has been sinew backed and there's a lot of hide glue in that wrap and so on and so on. It's going to be pretty sticky when you soak your tip wrap in a hide glue mixture, a thin hide glue mixture, and then stick it on there almost like contact cement. And then I wrap it with string, just wrap it so it sticks down. And then I put a bowstring on it. I don't brace the bow, but I'll put a bowstring loosely on there and then take a wooden block or something between the handle and the string to give it some tension. And that string pulls down and jams that rawhide into the string grooves. And there we go. And so this is a good example of exceeding the compressional strength of the wood. I will, in full disclosure, tell you that this bow, even though it doesn't look like it, had a failure. You can see where it delaminated there along the growth rings. I was pushing it. I was pushing the envelope because with a long, full draw, I like 55 to 60 pound bows. But with a short bow, where it's not a full 28, 29 inches, and it's sometimes unanchored, although I can anchor 25, 24 inches. I like a heavier bow. I like to have a bow about 80 pounds if it's a shorter draw bow. Give it some oomph. And with the sinew backing, which adds a lot of tensional strength, it was too much for this wood. I over exceeded it. And so on the second try, I'm going to make it a little lighter. Right on the verge of disaster, although I'm going to avert that disaster by making this one lighter. And I added a little bit. I added 3 more inches to the total length. Now, I want you to think about something. This is very pretty, having recurves. Oh yeah. But you don't get something for nothing, my friends. That's the way life works. Is that when you recurve a bow, even modestly like this, I'm tripping over my words, you're adding stress to the package. Now, I don't need to worry about overstressing the sinew. This is not going to break. This is not going to fail. It is as strong as Superman. But it can easily overcome the wood in compression, and that's what it did. It overpowered it. Could have been a bad piece of wood. Stuff happens. But this was drawing too much for the red oak of which it was made. And so I learned my lesson. I could sinew back this bow, or I could just say, anybody want it? And give you a great deal on it, and this could be your first sinew backed bow. But I would not put a power layer on it. This one has 3 layers, 2 full layers side by side, and then a third one down the center, which represents about half of the surface area, just right down the center. If you were to sinew back, or if I was to, it would be a thin layer. It would be a single layer. I might even see wood through the gaps. Or I could rawhide back it. Rawhide doesn't have the same ultimate properties of sinew. So this rawhide backing would be a very good option, or a thin layer of sinew, which would stretch a little bit more than this. It wouldn't overstress the belly as much. And so there are options. Getting back to recurves, you don't get something for nothing. Even though I would love to recurve that bow. In my heart of hearts, I know that I don't want to repeat this again. So recurving it would add stress to it, and recurving would be really, with a short bow, a matter of taste. Yeah, it'll give it more feet per second, but is that worth potentially ruining your bow? Also making it a little harder to string, a little less stable, even though this is the minimum recurve just to keep the string from sliding off the end. Okay, let's look at this bow. I'm going to put that up there so you can admire it. It's fully rounded back. And what helps is having a long sanding block, a long, narrow sanding block, maybe 2 inches wide, 3 inches wide, something like that, but long. It gives you good stability when you're rounding the sides. And you can see that I have an even thickness along that edge. I didn't need to use my Scribe-O-Matic. I did it by eye. My goodness, that looks even. Now in the handle, this is a little bit of aesthetics. A long sanding block. It would be easy with a short sanding block to take these things right here before it constricts for the handle and sanding them down. I don't like that. It doesn't matter structurally to the bow, but I don't like that as much. I use a long sanding block to round it over so it just looks like I rounded it and then just cut these out. That's a really nice visual clue that these things don't dive down towards the string. I don't know if you can really get what I'm saying here because it's kind of confusing. I don't want this surface along this edge to then dive down towards the string. I want it to be even all the way across. Again, that's visual. It's the artistry. It's the sculpting of a bow. That's what I like. Now on the belly, it's just dead flat because it needs as much compressional strength as possible, and by rounding it, you're going to lose some of that. You're going to wind up the same as the top. If it's humped, if it's crowned, greatest amount of compression is going to be down the center. Now, as far as a short bow, I could have made this bend through the handle. That'll give me a longer draw length, but you have to be careful. If you have wide limbs, then go into a narrow, thicker section, and back on the other side, and it's bending, these wide, thinner limbs, it's like having two bows side by side. But when you have this narrowed, thin section and you want it to bend through there, not only are you going to get string shock or hand shock, you're also going to be causing compression failure in here. This is fine. You could have, let's say, 50 pound bow, and I'm using this very generally, and because of the width, it's like literally like having two 25-pound bows side by side. That's the advantage of wide limbs. But here, and especially with a round cross section, if you're not using you could probably stand that, having this shape bent through the handle. If you're not using you're asking for failure unless it's a very light bow, because this center section, picture a skinny bow like that, 50 pounds, you're asking for trouble. I'm going to have compression failure in here. Guaranteed. If it's ash, white ash, or red oak, or most of the whitewoods, by having a bending handle through here that's narrow and thick, it's going to fail. It will fail. Pure and simple. And that's why I have a non-bending handle through here. It's going to limit my draw length, but sometimes you have to demand of yourself instead of the bow. I shall not expect this bow to have a 28-inch draw. It's actually 58 inches knock to knock. 28 inches is darn near half the working length. Actually not, even less than that because it's a non-bending handle. I'm not going to demand half the length of the bow as the draw length. That's too much. If it's sinew-backed with these wide limbs, yes, I could probably get half. If it's 58 inches, knock to knock, divide that by 2, and with sinew, with these wide limbs, I could probably get darn near half of that in draw length. There's a complex formula, much too complex for me. But that's it. That's about it. I'm going to cut this short. You notice I don't have a fire here? I have stuff to do. I could just sit in front of the fire in the teepee all day long, but I've got stuff to do. Isn't this pleasant? I just love this shape. This is 60 inches, I believe, tip to tip. Now the issue with me is, if I was to sinew back this, I couldn't release this for a couple months. The sinew takes time to cure. Mike Yancey's not going to be back in office for another 2 weeks, so, you know, I could wait. I could rawhide back it then. And probably paint, I like this pattern. Paint the same pattern on it as possible. But, you know, if there's somebody out there and they want to have a cool bow to sinew back, and I get that message from you, John, I want that bow. Unfinished, but tillered. You could certainly, I would thin it out, and that just takes sanding black. Don't even unstring it, just sanding black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Full length of the limbs. Keep it balanced. Reduce the draw weight. This should not be drawn past 40 pounds, whatever that draw length happens to be. It could probably survive more, but we're interested in the survival of the bow. Break it in carefully and slowly. Grease and wax it. Whatever. Put a little handle wrap. You could have a finished bow. Or you could use this as your first sinew back project. The woodwork's down near done. You know, it would be the easiest sinew backing you ever did, to get a bow to sinew backing. But I have a trouble stopping to talk. I said my wife's gone for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to see anybody or basically talk to anybody in those 2 weeks. And so I'm using you as my sounding board. Think about it. Think about it. I may just finish it myself and keep it. I don't know. Life is ever moving and changing. I'm trying to think of if I can answer any questions. I get a random number of people on this site that watch it for various reasons. Maybe there's some people that just tune in to listen to a story. Or tune in for bows, what have you. The biggest ones are when I'm having a bow for sale. Let's talk about the civility of the internet. The internet is an interesting thing because you can type anything you want. You can get mad at something somebody says, even if it's benign, and just go off on them. And occasionally I get some people like that on my channel, and I just get rid of them. You're not welcome in my teepee if you are an uncivilized person. I recently had a person, it was on sinew backing a gull-wing bow of all things. And it was a foreign language, which I have some YouTube friends from that country. And like, I don't speak that, but I know what he's saying. And I did the translate. And this person, who obviously had poor parenting, called me an idiot and said I was lying. Now, I have no idea what that means. It didn't bother me that much. You know, really, because this person has issues. And it's not my problem. But I basically gave him an old American saying, bye-bye. And said, really, you know, if you talk to people like that on the street, I'd be surprised, or something to that affair. Got rid of them. And it's easy to do. I've been known to troll different channels, not to that extent. But it really kind of sums up what's happening in the world today, a lack of civility. And so I give you credit, my watchers, my loyal watchers. Occasionally I get a thumbs down. I understand that. I've given videos a thumbs down. No skin off of my back. But I appreciate that my viewers are civilized. And I think a part of that is the bow making community. The bow making community. How many of us have gone to, say, a person's channel that they've made a bow, and you can see, well, they're just starting out. The tillering isn't that great. The bow is kind of chunky. You know, it's not to your taste. But do you say that and try to grind that person into the ground, or do you understand that Well, his next or her next bow will be better. Every bow will be better. I appreciate that you're entering this voyage into bow making. And so you do what the proper thing is. You say, "It's a great bow. Good going. Thank you for posting this." And that's typically what a bow maker does. That's why I don't believe this one person that called me an idiot and said I was lying. Hey, I've been called worse, whatever. Is a true bow maker. He's not a bow maker at heart. He doesn't have what it takes to be a member of this community because obviously, there's a lack of civility there. And what we're about civility. Rise above it. Rise above it. Now I shall go and do stuff. Oh, my last random comment. Oh my gosh. I'm also in the from time to time in the model railroading. We're not just one-dimensional beings. And it surprised me. If you're in the model railroading, I didn't realize that LGB is out of business. A lot of model railroad companies are going out of business because people aren't doing that anymore. They're all into video games and all this modern stuff. And it's funny because I don't consider myself a good investor, but I bought an LGB starter set at a good price. It was on sale. And holy cow, the price has gone up. I actually bought something that's worth more now than when I paid for it. And even the Bachmann Big Hauler, it's G scale. It's one of the big scales, the big gauges, rather. Those things are worth more money than I paid for it. The locomotive alone is worth more than I paid for the entire starter set. It's weird. I don't know. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.